let me know.
Hello, everyone. It's Grizzly again from Lexington, Kentucky, coast to coast, around the world. We have a special guest this evening, Tina. Always love to have her on the show. Tina, what you been up to?
All good things, you know that.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the things that you've been up to.
All right. Where do you want to start?
I'll let you start wherever you want to start.
Wow. Well, we can. You want to pick up where we left off, talking about the
Yeah, that's
uh,
fine.
conversation that we had?
Yeah.
Okay. So, uh, some of us here in this lifetime have been targeted, and your previous guest is one of those people. She's a lot like me. So there's a lot more going on than people understand.
Well, what she's trying to say was, is I had a guest on the show last night, and she was full of demons. I'll cut to the chase. So I didn't know what to do. Every time I tried to talk to her about a priest, she would get cut off. Her phone would just completely drain. Every time I
Hmm.
tried to talk to her about what to do, she would get disconnected. So I frantic, and I got a hold of Tina and said, "Help! I need you on my show, my live show." I didn't tell her what was going on or anything, and it was awful. Then Tina come on, and I'll let Tina take it from there.
Yeah. So she's just had an unusual amount of tragedy and abuse and paranormal activity. And did she have an encounter with Sasquatch?
You know what? I couldn't tell you. It was the Hat Man, the Shadow Man, and I have no other clue what else. I mean, it just. I mean, my electronics, my studio electronics were going in and out. I had no idea what was
Hmm.
going on. It was really weird. And while you was on the phone or you was live in the studio, she just disappeared,
Yeah.
and she said she switched phones and had a full charge.
Hmm.
And ever since then I've been having problems and I just
Yeah.
and people make fun of me because I'm not Catholic, but I'm gonna take my laptop to church and have them bless it or something. I don't know. I don't know what
Draw
else.
the number 8. Draw the number 8.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I'll do then.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
I stopped buying I stopped buying computers because I break them, I touch them, and they fry. So
Really?
yeah, it's part of the paranormal activity. Now I've had near-death experiences, and other people who have had near-death experiences have issues with electronics.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, I've walked by street lamps that have blown up as I walked under them.
Whoa.
Yeah. So expect in your line of work here, the kind of guests that you're having, expect a lot of it.
Well, I'll make sure next time I go see Father Miguel, I'll make sure I'm gonna bring home a gallon of holy water then.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Well,
Uh,
and one of the things I was going to guide her through was how to get rid of entities that have attached to you.
It seems like, and she was telling us that everywhere she goes, she leaves one. She doesn't have any friends now. You
Hmm.
know, she doesn't stay at nobody's house. Everybody's
Yeah.
afraid of her. You know, her boyfriend of 14 years died in his sleep. No reason,
Hmm.
no cause. Her other boyfriend of 10 years just walked out. Well, I know why he walked out. He probably said, I'm tired of this shit. You know,
Yeah.
couldn't handle it. So,
No.
I mean, that's just,
No.
I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, if you was on the show last night, you would have saw an epic you would not believe. So, I think I left it still up. I don't think I deleted it. So, yeah. I'm thankful again that you got on and saw a snippet what I was going through.
Yeah. Very
So,
intense.
yeah, it sure was
So
unbelievable.
yeah. Well, and while you were doing that show, I was actually researching this stone, the the black carbon stone. Remember when we were talking?
Yeah.
Gosh, we were talking. I can't remember if we were on the phone or on the show, but and I was saying that these extraterrestrials have been showing me these black stones that they have aboard their craft, and they told me it was black carbon, and so I was researching like which stone is this, and I found it's black. It's shungite, Shungite. So that's it can protect you, and it could protect you from EMFs and all kinds of electronical problems and issues. So you might want to get some of that.
Oh wow. Yes, definitely look into that. Hey,
I'm wearing them.
nothing wrong with that. How
Mm-mm.
does it make you feel?
Um, I don't know yet. I just got this one today, and this one when I realized what it was, I just started wearing it like yesterday. Honestly, I found it at this gym that I go to. It has an outdoor swimming pool that's up against the woods. The actual woods that I see Sasquatch in, and I saw this little bracelet at the table there, and I picked it up and intended on giving it to the front desk, for the lost and found, and it went out of business, and I never ended up going back, and I just kind of had it, and when I started looking at this stone that I googled, I'm like, the, that's it. I've already got some of it, and I didn't know it. I just ordered some on Amazon, so now I have one for each hand.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I don't know where you found some. That's incredible.
Mhm.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So these Sasquatch people and these extraterrestrials, I call them Zetas. They're the little 3 foot tall beings with 3 fingers. They're cute. Uh, those are those. I believe that they've been in my life probably my whole life, probably before I was born. Just looking
Wow.
at all of the coincidences and things that have happened over the years, there's no way that they can't be involved. You know what I mean?
So when
You'll
you
see.
interact with them,
Huh?
so when you interact with them,
Well, I first started interacting with them like on a conscious level Father's Day 2022. So I was just like 3 months ago. Yeah. So that's when I saw my very first one, and it was Sunny Boy, and he's my size. He's a juvenile, and I didn't have had zero interest in seeing a Bigfoot. I never even thought about it really that much. I've probably seen a documentary or two about them over the years, but not, nothing that really stuck. I didn't have an interest. And when I saw that little Bigfoot, I wanted to get out of the woods. I did not want
Right.
to stay in there. So after I saw him the second time, that's when I actually started communicating with him and mind speaking with him.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
I hear that all the
So
time, that they mind speak to people.
yeah, they've done it a couple of different ways for me. It's almost like my voice talking to me because it's inside. It doesn't have a sound. It's hard to describe. And then other times, and they'll say words, they'll say sentences. Other times, they'll show me pictures of things. And Ripley, the father, he actually will talk as if he's a typewriter. So I'll see his words typed out on white paper with black letters. It sounds weird, but that's how he talks to me.
Wow. We've got to communicate somehow.
Hmm I think
So,
we all communicate this way. I think it's the normal way, and it's been programmed out of us.
yeah. Yeah.
So no wonder we're all in a bad mood with each other. Communication's like the number one issue that we seem to be having.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I
So
agree.
what if you could look at someone and know their heart and know their intentions without anyone exchanging a word?
Oh, right now I'll be in trouble. So I noticed on your website that you've been finding more footprints.
Oh yeah, I found these are. I'm not sure if these are Sasquatch Bigfoot prints or if they're a different kind of bipedal or whatever creature because the foot was wider than mine, but it was like half the size of mine. It was very short, and it almost looked like the big toe was kind of like bent at an angle. It was a really weird print. You saw that?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was a weird print. So I'm not sure what that is. I like to go walk the river bottoms after it's rained. So there's none of my tracks are there, and usually my tracks are the only ones down there. Nobody really goes down there, and it's interesting to see what's there. Usually a
Uh,
lot of raccoons.
yeah, I
Yeah.
noticed
One,
that.
well,
Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say one time I had a raccoon track that its little thumb was swollen, or I'm not sure if it's a thumb. I don't think they have thumbs, but one of its fingers was so swollen it looked like a thumb. So that was a weird one.
Wow. I also noticed that you're finding more tree structures.
Yeah, they're everywhere in these woods, and I'm being given the impression that there's a purpose for that. It's almost like the Sasquatch people are telling me these are intentional because there's so many of them there. It's like, are you kidding me? Are all the woods like this? Because I don't know. I haven't been investigating that much, but these woods are full, like from one end to the other, of interesting cliffs and structures. And that what they're telling me is that it's like this is like a visiting center. Like they want us to see these, and they're like subliminal messages, and they're gateways and portals, trying to wake us up, trying to see who's noticing and interacting with the nature there. And what's interesting is every person that I interact with, like every human that I've talked to in those woods, um, have that kind of spirit about them, like the spirit of the woods is with them. They're very nice, they're very caring, and they're concerned. Like a lot of every time other cyclists will pass me, um, and I'm off my bike, they'll ask me if I'm okay. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just taking pictures.
Oh, wow.
So,
That's pretty interesting. So, how long do you usually stay out in the woods?
oh, usually about 3 hours every day.
And do you usually see them out there every day, or?
I don't see them per se every time. I've seen them a total of 4 times as far as like fully a fully formed uh, Sasquatch. I've seen twice, and then I've seen the watery figures twice, and then I've seen shadow figures in my bedroom at night.
Uh-oh.
Um, they're not frightening to me. I think that's what they are. I think that they're the Sasquatch people because I've told them you guys can come in my house as long as you don't scare anybody. So I'm glad to have them here. I live in a bad neighborhood.
Unbelievable. And what does these shadow people do? They just hang out?
Well, they're oftentimes teaching me. They they cause this deep sleep to come over me, and I've never been a person who could take naps, so I started interacting with them, and I just get overwhelmed with fatigue, and will lay down and go to sleep, and instantly I'm with them. I go to the woods, um, or I go on the craft with them, and one of the times they took me out of body. Sonny, the little Bigfoot, the juvenile, he took me. Um, I'm not I'm not sure where it was, but it was a huge TV screen, and I could see all the faces of my spirit clan inside this TV screen, and there was just a huge transference of love that happened between us. And that was very soon after I started talking to Sunny. So that's kind of what I wasn't very trusting of the situation. Um, I didn't know what to think of this Sasquatch, but after that happened, it kind of earned my trust. Like he's he's full of love and showing me nothing but good things, you know. So I wasn't afraid of him after that.
And the question is, do you ever see any young Sasquatch?
I
And
haven't
that's
seen any yet.
so what's
Not
so
yet.
you've seen what, the father?
Yeah.
Which ones have you
And then
seen?
the father, and he's huge. He's probably 8 feet tall, and he's black haired and dark skinned. And the mother, I was going to show you the pictures I drew of her this time. Um, she is blonde, and except for her bum area where it looks like she sat down in like a orangish red dye, and her arm, this whole section right here, it looks like a tattoo, but the hair is parted and it's full of crystals. Like her arm is encrusted with crystals, and it just kind of matches her her arm. They look kind of opalescent. Um, and I'm not sure what the purpose of that is, except that she's a higher vibrational. She's like in the Sasquatch Nation or whatever they call that. Um, she's like a master. She's like a Buddha or a Christ master. Yeah. And then
That's really interesting.
Sonny's got red hair. Red, yeah, he's got reddish hair. His hair looks just like the pine needles,
Oh, really?
that you see on the ground. Yeah.
And you're not
So,
afraid at all.
mm,
See, I'll be
No,
running.
no. Yeah, I felt like running the first time. I looked back, but I didn't stop. I didn't slow down. I was like looking back as I'm gearing up to start tearing up the trail to get out of there.
So, how did you
But
build their trust?
well, how I built their trust, I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I started going to these woods about a year ago. I started mountain biking over a year ago, like a year and a half ago, and then I found my way to these trails. And so, like, what I like to do when I'm riding my bike is I do this Ho'oponopono prayer. It's a Hawaiian prayer, and it's multi-dimensional, and it travels through time. And basically, let's say I'm saying it for you, and I say it in my own way. I would say, Christopher, thank you. I'm sorry and I love you. Please forgive me. I forgive you. And then it just becomes like a mantra. I would say it over and over again. And the story that I remember hearing is that there was a psychiatrist who worked in a prison in Hawaii, and it was a prison for the criminally insane, and he never even met with these patients of his. The lawnmower is going by my window. Um,
Okay, here.
he he would look in their chart and do this prayer for them, and he did this for a year, and every single one of the patients was healed and released, except for one, and he had, you know, raped and murdered a toddler, and he wasn't ever released, but he was well, and he took responsibility for what he did, and so that's kind of where I was like, well, this is a powerful prayer. This is like the kind of prayer I need in my life, with the kind of people I've, the family I was born into and stuff like that. They're exactly that kind of evil, that level of evil, where you know. So I needed something powerful. So that's what I was doing when I was riding my bike. When I go into the woods, the prayer started to evolve. I started kind of like channeling new ways to say it, and basically what I ended up with, you know, saying it for everything and everybody, for God, for Satan, for the angels, for Jesus, for Hitler, everybody. And so I would say, everyone in all moments, thank you. I'm sorry and I love you. Please forgive me. I forgive you. And I would say it for everybody in all moments. Thank you. I'm sorry and I love you. Please forgive me. I forgive you. And after I started conversing with Sonny, um, he told me that those prayers were affecting the woods and everything in them, including the Sasquatch people there. So they were very aware of it. I had no idea that anything had the consciousness to even know I was there. I had no clue that everything, they've taught me this since then. All the trees, even the little insects, you know. And now I feel bad if I accidentally trash a spider web or something. I feel bad. I'm like, I'm sorry, because I realize they're all just as conscious as I am. They're all as present here as I am. There's none that are less conscious or aware. Where everything, everything here is alive and full of consciousness. So,
Right. Now I can understand that. So
yeah.
you often feel the presence before you see them.
Oh, yeah. They have a very distinct energy. Like I can feel it. And when I start to feel it, that I slow down because usually I'm just like excited to get there on the trail. What am I going to see? I get going. I'm not like looking around. Because it's always when I'm not looking that they show up. So I just get to the business of getting on the trail and But when I start to have that feeling, I'll slow down and I'll get off my bike and look around. And that's usually when I'll see a structure. It's like I have a sense for it. It's very interesting that I've tuned into it like that. Um, and then there's times where I'll feel a different feeling, and it's like the Sasquatch people were telling me, yeah, there's fairies living in here too. And so I've had some interactions with these fairies. I've had two times they flew very close up to my face. One touched me right here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just touched me, turned around and flew the other way. And that one I didn't get a good look at it. The the backside of it because I didn't see it coming. I felt it touch me, and then I saw it as it left. The other one didn't touch me, but it was kind of gray, and I was like, I wonder if there's gray fairies, you know. So I went on Google and started looking at pictures, and you know, because you want to find validation that it's not just your imagination. When but pretty soon this used to be common knowledge. We used to live with the fairy kingdom. We used to live with the Sasquatch people. Like all of the creations and creatures used to live here together, aware of one another, and we're that's what they're returning us back to, you know, because we've suffered so much for our ways. We have suffered, and most of us are in so much pain physically and emotionally that we're ready for a different reality. We're ready to treat each other differently and to love ourselves. Where in past history we haven't been there yet. I think there's a grand awakening of, you know, people who've just suffered enough. It's time, you know,
Right.
time for us to love each other.
Yeah, absolutely. That's neat. Are you
Yeah.
also Wiccan? What is
A
that?
what?
Wiccan.
Oh, a Wiccan?
Oh, Wiccan.
No, no.
What is a Wiccan?
Yeah, that's a Wiccan. I know what that is. But they're all just kind of like religions and belief systems are all structures that kind of lead us here to where I'm at finally, where my belief systems are very fluid, and I understand that what is true right now may not be true in a few hours. It may not be true in a few hundred years. I mean, reality is constantly changing. It's very fluid. It's alive, just like we are. So it's constantly changing form. So I'm not getting attached to what form it is, you know, anymore. And I'm okay with what shows up. And sometimes I feel like saying a blessing or a prayer when I'm out in the woods, and I do that, and it would be something similar to what a Wiccan or a pagan might do. I take crystals with me, and when I'm speaking blessings and things like that, I'll put them in my mouth or I'll do a Reiki symbol. I am a Reiki master. Um, so that might have been where you got the idea that I was a Wiccan, but Reiki is just energy. That's just the ability to move energy, and I've got Reiki energy that's been put inside of me, but I've got other energies, healing energies that have been put inside of me that I was aware of that happening. I just didn't know what it was when it happened, but I know what it is now. It's being explained to me. So,
How did you come across that you had those powers?
well, one of the experiences was like I came home from work and sat down on the end of my bed and immediately felt a presence there, and it was like kind of like pushing me gently back on my bed, and the ceiling above me evaporated, and this liquid poured out of the sky and straight into my heart. And it looked like liquid mercury, but it was full of like every color. It was like a rainbow. It was like opalescent inside this liquid mercury stuff, and it went inside of me, and it filled me with this energy that went. It was like in a big wave, like wah 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 wah, all from one end of me to the next, like up and down every cell, and it was a complete bliss and ecstasy and God love and everything all at once. And um, I had a spontaneous orgasm, and later I was told that's like a Kundalini awakening, or but I was told that this because I can visualize it still, I can see it now. Like I can direct that energy; it's in me, and I could direct it towards people to heal them.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and I've just never been aware of it until talking with Sasquatch and these extraterrestrial beings. I never wanted to be a psychic medium or a healer. This It's been a hard thing for me to accept.
Well, I can understand. I mean, how many years have you been dealing with this?
Oh, this has been going on since 2001. I basically had my first near death experience, and that was like the first profound one. And like I went to sleep that night as Tina, the homemaking Sunday school teaching Mormon. And when I woke up in the morning, I was no longer that. And it's been like a free fall ever since then, like uh, constantly trying to grab onto new beliefs and find a new way to be in the world. And all of it just leading me towards where I'm at today. But right after I had that near death experience, I was terrified of mirrors because my grandmother would see spirits in the mirrors, and I didn't want to see one. so if it was nighttime, I would go into my bathroom and I would purposely not look at the mirror, and it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and this voice was mind speaking to me, and it said, "Look in the mirror," and I was like, "What?" So I looked in the mirror, and immediately I was filled with that feeling, where every cell is alive and vibrating so fast. It was like a quickening, and I felt really good. And I looked down, and I could see my arm was becoming transparent. I could see the pattern of the tiles on my bathroom floor through my arm. When I looked at my face in the mirror, I had no head. It was completely gone, and I wasn't afraid. And I was about 35 ish when this happened, I think. And anyways, that voice said, "Do not fear the autumn of your life." And I was like, "What kind of riddle is this?" Like, but now I'm 50. Now I'm in the autumn of my life, and just it's been it's been a challenge. When I first saw this Sasquatch, I was kind of like a Bible thumper, rock concert, Sunday church kind of girl, and none of this stuff ever occurred to me. So
Right.
I'm having a lot of reality shifts, and just everything's different. Everything's completely different for me in the last 3 months. So yeah,
That's
I've
wild.
got to I've got to not be afraid. But this is what the Sasquatch people do. They can lift their vibration and become invisible. And over the years, I became obsessed with finding other people who have experienced themselves becoming invisible. And like one story I read, this man was being chased by the Gestapo during the Nazi occupation time, and he ran into a crowded bar, and they were right behind him. There, he couldn't run anymore because there was too many people, and he felt that crazy feeling come over his body. And when he turned around to face these soldiers that were chasing him, they couldn't see him. They were looking as if he wasn't there. And another person that I heard of having that experience is Matt Kahn, and he's kind of like a YouTube guru kind of guy. He's got some really good healing ideas and concepts and ways of being, and he went through that. So later in life, and this was in 2016, I actually went through an experience of being abducted, and I had a broken pelvis and was running for my life from three men. And one of the men had a rifle with a scope on it. He had a truck with a spotlight. One of them was on a racing quad, and one of them was on foot chasing me. And I couldn't see a way out. I could not. There was no way I was going to survive this, and I knew. But this voice was in mind speak, and I thought this was like God or Jesus or something, but it just said run. So I ran, and it was quite a while when the ground start, because there's nothing out there. This is out in Modena, Utah. There's nothing. The tallest bush is 2 feet tall, and it's just flatlands as far as the eye can see. And so there's nowhere to hide. But the land started to go down, and up ahead I could see there was a junkyard, and I thought if I can get to that junkyard, I can hide. And the closer I got, I could see there's a shed, and I thought if I can get around this side of the shed, the spotlight, I can break contact with that spotlight long enough that I can hide. But when I got up there, there was a 4 foot tall barbed wire fence. And
Oh,
as soon as I thought, yeah, no, I've got my little 3 pound dog under my arm. I'm running with a dog and a broken pelvis, and I see this 4 foot tall barbed wire fence, and I'm thinking, how am I going to get through that? How do I get over that? Poof, just like that, I evaporated through that fence. It's like every cell in my being came alive with that joyful, blissful love, and decided to let go long enough to go through this fence. And the guy who was right behind me, Matt, like I could smell his stinky cigarette breath on, and I could feel his hot breath on the back of my neck. I knew he was reaching for me. I felt it, and I heard him screaming, "She just disappeared! She just disappeared!" And the other guys are like, "What?" And he just keeps saying it over and over again. He's in so much shock. She just disappeared in front of me, and I was like so giddy and happy after that. I realized that some kind of supernatural power was taking over this situation, and I was gonna survive it. And it was like I was trying not to laugh out loud because I could hear them looking. They looked for like a half hour. They couldn't find me. And
wow.
it never occurred to me that I had that ability to do that. But that's what these Sasquatch people are telling me, that these are natural abilities that have been programmed out of us. Like we're just like them. We are multidimensional beings, and we have the ability to go invisible and to pass through solid things, you know?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So what else do you have?
Well, um, I mean, that's how I became disabled for PTSD, you know. So it's almost like that was supposed to happen because it's always it's always been really easy for me to make money. I've owned a few different companies, and I mean, at my best, I was making $60,000 a month, and uh, I was also very codependent. So I was like, I'm one of those rich people that was taking care of everybody around me, like paying for houses and apartments and stuff for other people. And all this stuff was distracting me from taking care of myself and loving myself and returning to my true nature. And so slowly all of these things were removed. But, after that experience of these people chasing me, um, I had PTSD. And one of the things that one of these men told me, he was my neighbor, and I had known him for a year, and they had been planning this for a long time, and I just had no clue. I had no clue there were people like this, and they claimed to be in a cult, and he claimed to be a CIA agent, and I was just like, who am I that you would even bother? I don't understand, you know. But this goes back to the woman who was in your show last night, or the night before. Some of us have been extremely targeted,
Oh
and
yeah.
we come here with so much power, um, and the ability to transform this world that the dark side's threatened by us. And like I was born to a family steeped deep in addiction, religious zealot, pedophilia, violence, all of it. And they were in the aerospace industry. And my mother specifically worked at Edwards Air Force Base. And when I was 18 years old, I had my first surgery. I had to have an emergency tonsillectomy because it was constantly infected, and it was poisoning the blood which was going into my heart. It was about, my tonsils were about to kill me. So when I woke up from this surgery, the doctor came in and he said, "Do you know where you're at?" And I said, "Yes, I'm at U.S. Air Force, Edwards Air Force Testing Base." And I started giving him my batch number, my ID number, like all this information, because I knew every time I woke up from a procedure at Edwards Air Force Base, I was supposed to give this information. I was having a total recall of being a test subject at Edwards Air Force Base when I was 12 years old. And I had no clue what that was until now in the last year as an adult. I've just now begun to investigate all of this stuff. And but my memory of it was when I was 12, I went to spend the summer at Edwards Air Force Base with my best friend, and her mom worked there too. And we were supposed to babysit for her mom's friend's kids. So I remember going out there. I remember getting to the house. I remember going in the house. I remember going into a bedroom, and I remember looking at a big uh, flat screen TV. And this was in the 80s, before big screen flat screen TVs. And that's the last thing I remember. I remember nothing else. And so of course, I got in touch with my friend on Facebook and asked her. I said, "You remember that summer that we spent at Edwards Air Force Base babysitting?" And she's like, "Tina, that's so weird. Like, I don't know how you remember my childhood, but I spent the summer there babysitting. You weren't there. And I said, well, ask your mom. Like, maybe you just don't remember. And her mom swore up and down that she did not take me out there. And I said, but I remember, I remember going out there. And I asked my mom, and she said, no, you've never been there. And I described how it looks going out there. It's got a very unique, the landscape's very unique. And like all of the buildings are the same color and the same height. And it's just, I've been there. And my mom's like, no. And so when I was 18 and I was remembering all this, I had no clue, and now as an adult, I'm finding that there's a lot of kids like me who are aware of the same thing of being a test subject, a super soldier. Um, and some of them actually, their parents signed a waiver for them to be used this way.
Really?
And yeah. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I can't say like I don't have 100% memory. I can't say that this happened to all of us because the technology that's here on this planet is so much more advanced than what we're aware of.
Yeah,
They
I believe.
they could have put out a false dream over the airwaves just to make people crazy. Because these people do experiments with our minds constantly. So there's no telling what the truth is here. And so I've tried not to attach to that with a sense of victimhood or outrage or anything other than how do I take good care of myself now? Because that's really the only power I have.
I know one thing. You've been through a lot. You see
You
stuff with me every time we speak. Every
yeah,
time I go on your Facebook, it's like, wow, look at this picture. Never ending, never ending.
no, yeah. I've had an extremely uh, busy life with one thing after another, back to back, back to back, and double bookings. Like when this really crazy evil stuff's going down, there's also extreme highs with silver linings and spiritual gifts and blessings beyond anything you could imagine. It's incredible. I I can't understand why I'm having this experience, but other people just have a really kind of like a mundane event, uneventful life. It's sometimes I wish I knew what that was like.
I can imagine. How's your other half think about this?
My other half, okay. So when all of this happened, uh, it's just another one of the silver linings. Like right after my near death experience, where I left our religion, uh, my husband noticed that I wasn't wearing like the holy Mormon underwear and I wasn't going to church anymore. He noticed about 2 or 3 weeks later. He's like, "What's going on?" And when I told him, like, I'm not sure what's going on. I had an experience, but I can't really remember. So I just remember, I was in the black void where a lot of people go. That's like the early part of your near death experience. You're just hanging out there, and something attacked me. And when I cried out, Lord Jesus, deliver me, this blue pillar of light showed up, and I knew it was there to protect me. And this dark thing left, and it was like it sounded like fingernails on a chalkboard as it was like inside of me or something. And after that, I was able to go back to sleep eventually, and I don't remember why I was changed. I don't remember being told anything, but I was just different. And so that's what I told him. I told him the truth, and he said, "You know what? We're in Utah, where all the judges are Mormon. I will be taking the kids away from you. We will be getting a divorce if you don't change your story. And I was like, I can't change my story. This is my truth. I'm not going to say it didn't happen, and I'm not going back to church. I'm not going back to doing any of this stuff I used to do because I'm different, and I can't tell you why. I don't know. But I said, would you, I asked him if he would go to therapy with me. And he said, as long as it was a Mormon therapist. So, of course, I went and found a Mormon therapist. And our first session, the first 5 minutes, I basically explained what I just told you. I had this near death experience. And the therapist looked at me and he said, Tina, you can go home. I'm going to visit with your husband and I'll bring him home when I'm done with it. And I said, okay, like, here we go, go home and cross my fingers. And 5 hours later, he showed up with my husband and my husband said, I'm leaving the church first so the family doesn't blame you. And we're going to leave together as a family. And I support you. And
That's good.
that therapist that I picked, I had no idea who he was. I'd never seen him before. He told me that he's a covert operator and he helps people who are in this religion to deprogram. He helps them to get out.
That's really nice.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I was led. It was divinely inspired to find him. Right. And so we left together. Come here, little paw. Come here. But we only stayed married for about 5 more years after that. Maybe 4 more years. We divorced in 2007. And I've never wanted to remarry. I stopped dating 6 years ago. And just have taken on this huge task of healing everything I've been through and taking really good care of myself. And I just feel like that's why everything happened the way it did. Everything was, all the money making, all the crazy relationships, all the bullshit had to go so I could focus on taking care of myself and getting well and having these experiences with the Sasquatch people and the Bigfoot people is just the next level in my spiritual evolution. And I think it's going to be the part of everyone's going to get involved in this to one degree or another and hear the message of the nature spirits and the Bigfoot people. And there's the extraterrestrials. I thought, as a Christian, I thought that these were of the devil. I thought they were the spawn of the devil, of the fallen angels or something. Wasn't sure. And I was like, told that the Sasquatch were had the mark of Cain, and I could tell you that they're nothing but love. They have been nothing but loving and healing and helping me. Whereas every religion and belief system I have been in has harmed me greatly. I have religious trauma that I'm still working to get over. Which
Does any of your kids have the power?
Huh?
Does any of your children have your power?
Oh yeah. My son and my daughter are very intuitive, both. And my son Now, this is the interesting part, is Sonny, the little Sasquatch, is telling me that I have an incarnation as his mother. Like, we have a big soul, or oversoul, or higher self, or something. I'm not sure about how this works, but he's telling me, like, and I've experienced this. I've had other multiple incarnations, living full other lifetimes while still in this life as Tina. So he's telling me one of my incarnations is his mother, and that he's my son, and that my son is also has an incarnation as him. And my son has the same exact stuff going on as I do. Very uh, paranormal activity going on. Um, Now, this house that I had this near death experience in, um, at night, sometimes I would get up and leave my body and astral travel. One of these nights, I was headed out, go fly around the neighborhood, and there's my son. He's 4 years old, and he's in his astral body, spirit form, or whatever, and he's wearing a superhero outfit with a cape and his cowboy boots. That's all this kid wore for 2 years. And I knew I had to let him go. He said, "I'm going with my friends, Mama. We go on missions every night." And I knew that was true. And like, this kid asked me to be his mom before I ever conceived him. I was told not to have more children because I have congestive heart failure and lupus. And I almost died with my daughter, so I wasn't planning on having more. But he asked to come to me for this purpose because he has a mission here. And now we moved away from that neighborhood, thousands of miles away, all the way to from Utah to Texas to Idaho, and then after my husband and I got a divorce, we ended up back down there in that same neighborhood, on the same, just about on the same street. And he was 14 years old by then, so it had been 10 years, and he made all the best friends of his life, and all of them went into the armed forces. And so last Christmas, or it might have been the Christmas before, he called me and he said, "Mama, don't be mad." And I was like, "Oh, what did you do? What did you do?" And I guess a week before, which I knew this had happened, they lost one of their men, and they had been jumping out of planes, and his parachute didn't deploy, and the parachute just wrapped around them. Nothing deployed, and he fell to his death. And so my son, a week later, the same thing happened. He jumped out, and it was a 1,200-foot jump, which the short jumps are dangerous because there's no time to fix any problem. And so his main chute didn't deploy, and when he pulled the emergency chute, it wrapped around the other one. And he knew he was plummeting toward his death, and he was at complete peace with it. And he said, "Mama, when the ground came, I just landed." And all of the guys in his troop were running to him and touching him and staring. Like some of them were crying, and they just couldn't believe, like, how does someone jump from 1,200 feet and land? And he didn't shatter any teeth. He didn't break any bones. Nothing. And he's had a lot of experiences like mine where he should be dead, but he's nowhere near dead.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
that's something else.
yeah.
Have you ever been driving or riding with someone in the car and you see a house and all of a sudden you start seeing the inside of the house, knowing that you've never been in the house.
Well, I mean, I have my sister asked me if I could tell her, like, she had moved from Utah to Georgia. She asked me if I could remote view her new place, and I said, well, I'll try. You know, basically all it is you close your eyes and look at the first images, and whatever shows up, you might be making it up in your mind, you know, but you just got to be okay with that, because actually most of the stuff we make up in our mind is part of how we create. But yeah, I told her, I said, your house is weird. I said, I see literally a mountain of laundry, and I see one chair in your house. And she's like, yeah, it's a recliner. That's the only furniture she had in the house. And she had a mountain. She had 3 kids. She had all of their clothes in a pile. And so yeah, I think we all have that ability too.
That's wild. You never cease to amaze me, Tina. Never.
Thank you.
So, do you have any suggestions for people out there in the world about anything that you recommend?
I recommend you asking yourself how to love yourself and how to parent yourself and heal yourself and work on that. Uh, we all have to return to our heart center. If we're gonna move with the energies that are coming in, it doesn't matter if we agree with it or not. The frequencies are rising, and the way we deal with those is to take care of ourselves. And I suggest a lot of deep breathing, belly breathing. That's what the Sasquatch people have told me, that we are a society that doesn't engage our diaphragm. You know, and I went to etiquette school where, as a young lady, I was taught how to stand up straight and walk with a book on my head. It's stuck in my stomach all the time. So it's been really like, really, it's time for my belly to come out. Yeah, it's like, take deep breaths and fill that thing up. And they're telling me this is key to us maintaining good mental health. You know, it's more important than exercise. Breathing is.
Well, I can tell you one thing: it's never a dull moment with Tina. You ought to check out her webpage. What's your webpage name?
Well, I don't have a web page, but I have a TikTok. It's my Bigfoot teacher, and I have a YouTube channel, my Bigfoot teacher, and I also have a YouTube channel that I'm just blogging my autobiography. It's Tina Beth Littleton Thomas.
And what's it called?
Tina Beth Littleton Thomas.
Tina Beth Littleton,
like Littleton, Colorado.
Oh, Littleton. Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure and visit Thomas.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Make sure and everybody go out there and visit that. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be on the show with Grizzly, you can email me at grizzlytheparanormal@gmail.com. Once again, that's grizzlytheparanormal@gmail.com. Any last words, Tina?
I love you all, and I know you love me, because this is the way we really are.
I don't know what I would do without you, and I'm still thankful that you answered that phone call from me the other day about the woman. Thank you so much.
Anytime. You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Grizzly from Lexington, Kentucky, coast to coast, around the world. See you here shortly for another podcast. Until then, take care.
Love y'all.